Hello everyone. So today I'm going to start another topic. The name of the topic is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means it's a part of respiration. So let us first study about respiration. What is respiration? We all know that respiration is the basic property of all the living beings. Generally we confuse respiration by breathing. That is intake of air and giving out of air. Okay, so respiration is a broad thing. Respiration is actually the unlocking of energy which is there in the food. We know that all the living beings require energy for all the life activities plus the activities which we perform outside. Suppose somebody want to play football, so it is the energy which he's producing in the body that is going to kick the football or to run or to play or to do any kind of activity, shout in ELN or whatever type of activities are there. So for all these activities, the energy is required, and that all energy comes from food that we eat. And in the food, this energy is present in the form of chemical energy, which is stored by the plant during the course of photosynthesis. And in photosynthesis, actually, they have stored the energy from sun's radiation energy. So actually, we are whatever we are able to do, that is all because of the sun's radiation energy, but it goes in the crooked path, so we don't at once realize. Okay, so during the photosynthesis, plants are stored food. Plants are made food or prepared food, and during this, they are used the solar energy, sun's radiation energy, or it is light energy, which is converted into chemical energy. And when we eat food, we are using that chemical energy. Now, again, the chemical energy we cannot use in the same way as it is present in glucose, because in the glucose it is present in the form of chemical energy, but this energy is not readily usable. This has to be converted into another form of chemical energy, that is called ATP. ATP is the currency, body's currency. You can summarize it in this way. Suppose someone is working in US and he is earning in dollars there. Suppose he comes for a holiday in India, and he goes to any shop and he pays dollar and asking something. The shopkeeper will not give him anything because he want currency in the form of rupees. Indian's currency is rupees, not the dollar. Or take another example. Suppose you want to charge your mobile. You cannot simply take a pin and insert in your mobile. You have to use an adapter, a particular adapter which is provided by the mobile company. You cannot directly use 220-volt current in your mobile. It will explode. It may cause severe damage to you even if you are holding the mobile in your hand. So that is what you have to convert it into the suitable form, which is suitable for the mobile, which is suitable for the shopkeeper, or which is suitable for body in terms like if you are using energy. So how will convert the chemical energy of food into chemical energy of ATP? That is a very important aspect, and that is done in respiration. So let us see what is the respiration. So respiration is one of the basic and most important function of life, without which we cannot survive even for a minute. Okay, respiration is one of the basic and most important part of the function of life, important function of life, without which we cannot survive even for a minute. Minute to dur ki baat hai, even for a seconds, because we are alive because of the energy. So if there is no energy, we cannot certainly stay alive. So let me stand here. Okay, so if we have to be alive, we have to will require energy, and this energy will come from respiration. Respiration is defined as the process of oxidation of food to release energy for various functions of life. Okay, and it completes in three steps in human beings and in the higher organs also. Now, respiration comes in three phases. First is exchange of gases, second is transport of gases, and third is cellular oxidation. Now, three steps are there. Exchange of gases. Where is the exchange of gases take place? How the gases are transported, and how cellular respiration take place. Let us see one by one. Exchange of gases. It takes place in two sides, in the lungs and in the tissues. We know that respiration, you might have heard about the anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. We higher organisms always are aerobic respiration. However, there are instances when oxygen supply is not sufficient, then we can switch over to part of our energy process by anaerobic respiration. Okay? So that we'll study later. Now we'll study that for aerobic respiration, the gas exchange is required. Even in the anaerobic respiration, like if it is fermentation, carbon dioxide is produced, not in the lactic acid case, as they take place in our body. So the gases has to be given out or taken in, or both. Okay? In normal instances, when the aerobic respiration is taking place, we are taking in oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide. Both the things are going simultaneously. Where it is taking place? In the lungs and in the tissues. When we breathe in, the air is taken into the lungs. From the air which is there in the lungs, oxygen diffuses from the lungs into the blood, and carbon dioxide, which is already more in the lungs, in the blood, will come into the lungs. So the exchange is done: oxygen from the lungs to the blood, and carbon dioxide from the blood into the lungs. On the other hand, in the tissues, what is happening? Oxygen diffuses from the blood to the tissues, and carbon dioxide comes from the tissues into the blood. Okay, so these are the two sides of exchange of gases. First is the lungs, and the second is the tissue. Both are necessary if we have to survive in case of human being or in the higher organs where the lungs are present. Second is transport of gases. Now, the lungs we have studied are the site of exchange of gases where the oxygen diffuses from the lungs into the blood. But what will happen if the blood oxygen remain in the blood? It has to go to the tissues. So how it will go? This blood will go to each and every part of the body, that is tissues. Now one must remember here, like unlike what we have got source of energy. For example, if we are consuming electricity, the electricity is produced in some of the thermal power plant or atomic energy plant and all, and that energy is transported to our home. So we are using ready-made energy, but it is not same in our body. It is not that the respiration is taking place only in the lungs, and from there the energy is transporting each and every part. Rather, respiration has to appear or occur in each and every cell. So each and every cell is producing its own energy. Okay, and there comes the third part, that is oxidation of food. And for this, the oxygen was required to be transported during the course of transportation. The oxidation of food kya hai? That is a process in which the food will be oxidized, it will be broken, it will be using oxygen and breaking into simple component like carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. This energy is converted into chemical energy of ATP. And it is this ATP which will be used for all the sources of energy in our body, whether we want to do any mechanical activity, or whether we want to maintain the body temperature, or whether we want to produce sound like speaking, whether you want to conduct electrical impulses in the form of nerves, whether you want to maintain the body temperature, or there are some organisms in which the electrical energy is produced. So heat, light, sound, mechanical energy, and electrical energy and chemical energy, all this energy are produced by one single form, that is ATP. So energy of ATP will be used for various type of to convert the various type of energy. So let us summarize here. So actually ATP is produced, and this ATP's energy will be used to produce heat, that is to maintain the body temperature, to produce light like organs like firefighter, that is Juggalo, electrical energy. You might have heard of some electrical eel or some other organs which uses electricity or which produces electricity. Even our nervous system is producing electrical energy. Now mechanical energy is of both type, that is the potential and kinetic. So when suppose I am standing here not moving, I am about potential energy. Suppose I rise into height, goes to the terrace, then I got potential energy. And when I am doing some activity like moving my hand, moving myself, then I am using kinetic energy. So ये हो गई heat हो गया, light हो गया, electrical हो गया, mechanical हो गया, sound energy, by which I am conveying all the information between you and me. So that is sound energy and chemical energy. These are the six forms of energy. All these forms of energy can be produced from ATP. So that is the beauty. ATP can be produced, can be converted into any other form of energy which is required in the body. Okay, so that's about the three parts of respiration. Then oxidation of food, where we have to concentrate. So oxidation of food, how it take place. Okay, so let's see the substrate which undergo oxidation. Now we are eating plenty of things. We are eating carbohydrate, we are eating fat, we are eating proteins, we are eating DNA, RNA, and hormones and other things. We are even eating some of the minerals like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iodine, and number of other things. We are even drinking water. Not all the substances are used in respiration. Respiration is basically using the organic molecule which are mainly containing carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen like proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And the first choice for the body is carbohydrate in the form of glucose. The substance which is used in respiration is called respiratory substrate. We'll concentrate, we'll study why body is using glucose only, why not any other substance. Choice is given, the body will always choose glucose. If no choice is available, glucose is not there at all, then the body may switch over to fatty acids, or even if it is not available, then body may switch even to the amino acids. But body uses the basic molecules, okay, and only these three categories. Carbohydrates, if it is not available, then fatty acids, if it is not available, then proteins, that is amino acids. Not nucleic acids like DNA or RNA, or not hormones and vitamins and all. Okay, so these are the substances which are used. The substance which is undergoing respiration is called respiratory substrate. Okay, so most common respiratory substrate is glucose. Okay, on the basis of need or not need of oxygen, the respiration is of two type. That is aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. So what are these? That is the fermentation. Fermentation is taking place in the lower organisms like fungi, like bacteria and all. And in this, they are converting the glucose into an incomplete oxidation, and they are producing alcohol. Okay, and they are producing two molecules of alcohol, two molecules of carbon dioxide, and only two molecules of ATPs. Okay, and oxygen not required at all. In aerobic respiration, which take place in our body and most of the higher organisms, six molecules of oxygen are required for complete combustion or complete breakdown of one molecule of glucose, and it will produce six carbon dioxide and six water and 36 net ATP molecules. Okay, so this is around 18 times more efficient than this, and ultimately it is producing carbon dioxide, which is the last product. It cannot further oxidized. Okay? And the third one is anaerobic respiration. Now, there are instances where our body is not able to produce enough of oxygen. Sorry, take enough of oxygen as per requirement. Suppose we are running, we are lifting something heavy, or we are suppose some in a trouble, like suppose a dog is running after us, or suppose we are hanging somewhere and there is no scope of saving, like we cannot uh, fall down and we cannot climb up also. So we are suspended somewhere. In that case, we are continually requiring energy, and this energy is not sufficiently provided by our lungs. In that case, the body may even switch on to anaerobic respiration along with aerobic respiration. Okay, so in this, lactic acid is produced. Lactic acid is very dangerous for our body, and all the fatigue which you are having, the tiredness when you are running, when you are walking, when you are sitting for long, when you are holding something for long, so your body is producing lactic acid there, and that is the reason you are getting tired. And in this, carbon dioxide is not produced, and only two ATPs are produced. How they are produced, that we'll study later. First step of respiration is glycolysis, irrespective of the type of respiration they are undergoing, whether they are aerobic, anaerobic, fermentation, whatever it is. Glucose is the substrate we have studied. The glucose will first undergo glycolysis. Word glyco stand for glucose, lysis stand for breakdown. That is the breakdown of glucose. How it is done? It is done in cytoplasm. Very first thing. Cytoplasm is found in all the organs irrespective of their level of organization, whether they may have cell organelle present in them or where they may not be present in them. Mitochondria may be there, mitochondria may not be there. So in that case also, glycolysis will be essentially taking place. And in glycolysis, two molecules of ATP are used and four molecules are produced. Two molecules of ATP are used, four molecules are produced. So there is net benefit of two molecules of ATP. And at the end of glycolysis, we get 2 pyruvic acid. So let us see how it takes place. So the first step of respiration, that is glycolysis, is same in all the organism, irrespective of the type of respiration they are having. In this, the glucose undergoes splitting and two molecule of 3 carbon compound, that is pyruvic acid, is produced. It takes place in cytoplasm, and cytoplasm is found in all the organisms. It does not require oxygen. Very important thing. It does not require oxygen. Oxygen का तो काम ही नहीं, जरूरत ही नहीं है, काम ही नहीं, ठीक है? And two ATP molecules are produced. Two are consumed and four are produced. There is net of two ATP produced. Also produces two molecule of NADS2 that will be used later on if it is aerobic respiration. So this is a summary. Let's study glycolysis in detail. So starting molecule is glucose, as we know, respiratory substrate. So glucose take one phosphate from ATP and change into glucose 6 phosphate, and this phosphate attaches on the sixth position. Okay, then it changes to its isomer, that is fructose 6 phosphate. So here you see fructose 6 phosphate. So glucose and fructose both are isomers to one another because both are having 6 carbon, C6H12O6. So whether it is glucose or whether it is fructose, it hardly matters. Okay. Next is, it takes another molecule of ATP and it changes to fructose 1,6 diphosphate or biphosphate, whatever you say. So two ATP molecules are used in order to change one glucose into one fructose 1,6 biphosphate. Okay. Now this fructose 1,6 biphosphate will split into two molecules of um, 3 carbon compound. One is dihydroxyacetone phosphate and the other one is glyceryldiide phosphate. So one will have acetone group and other will have aldehyde group. Both are having same formula and both are isomers of one another. So this can be changed into this and this can be changed into this. So we can write like this symbol, which are interchangeable. Now glyceryldiide phosphate undergo further process. So it take a phosphoric acid and it change it to diphosphoglyceric acid. One phosphate already it had, another phosphate it takes. So diphosphoglyceric acid. Now it will lose one phosphate to one ADP and it will change into ATP. So ये हो जाएगा phosphoglyceraldehyde. And during this process, two hydrogens are given out, which changes into NADH2. Hydrogen cannot be simply let out. It has to be immediately deposited somewhere because hydrogen being a very active molecule. So इसलिए इसको किसने absorb करा दिया? NADH2 के अंदर. Okay. Now phosphoric acid further goes into phosphoenol pyruvate, and phosphoenol pyruvate again loses one phosphate to one ADP and change into pyruvic acid. So this entire process has taken place. This entire process is made by one molecule of glyceryldiide phosphate. Now in second, this will change here and further this process will appear to us. So हम ये कह सकते हैं कि this entire process repeated twice. So one ATP is produced here, one ATP is produced here by one glyceryldiide. So when acetone dihydroxyacetone phosphate से भी यही हो जाएंगे. So total 4 ATP are produced. 2 ATPs are spent here and here minus 2 ATPs. So net क्या हो गया? 2 ATPs plus 1 NADH2 यहाँ बना था, 1 NH2 दोबारा बनेगा. So 2 NADH2 using per molecule of glucose. एक glucose molecule से ये सारी चीजें बनती है. So we have summary of here. So in glycolysis, we get 4 ATPs and 2 NADPs. Out of these, 2 ATPs are spent to activate glucose, and the net benefit is 2 NADP and 2 ATPs. Okay. Now there are three types of respiration we have studied. One is fermentation, other is aerobic respiration, third is anaerobic respiration. In fermentation, the pyruvate which is formed plus NADH2 which is formed, they will recombine and change into one molecule of ethane and one molecule of carbon dioxide. So अगर ग्लूकोज से करेंगे तो ग्लूकोज से 2 pyruvate plus 2 NADH2 will produce 2 ethanol plus 2 carbon dioxide. Okay, with the glucose. Aerobic respiration, 2 pyruvates plus 2 NADH2 will produce 2 molecules of lactic acid. This is taking place in muscle. Aerobic respiration, 2 pyruvates plus 2 NADH2 will produce 6 carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water plus 36 ATPs. So these are the things. We'll study them in detail, so it is only a summary. Okay, further process of aerobic respiration take place in mitochondria. So it will occur only in those organelles where the mitochondria is present. If mitochondria is absent like in bacteria and all, so this process will not occur. वहाँ पे केवल glycolysis होकर रह जाएगा, and that glycolysis का pyruvate will change into ethanol. Okay, that is how it is used in fermentation. And the process fermentation, the name fermentation come from process, a common process called ferment. Ferment means boiling. So it was a what you call serendipity, like all of a sudden appears process. क्या हुआ, किसी के खेत में खूब सारे अंगूर हुए, lot of grapes were produced in a farmer's farm. So what he did, he crushed all the grapes and produced grape juice, and then he stored it in a vessel. Now he used to remove the juice every day and he used to drink. After 6-7 days, he found that the taste is little more better and it used to give him a little sleepy effect. So that is because of the formation of alcohol. And the second container in which the this thing was there, juice was there, when he opened after some time, he found some bubble formation. He thought it is boiling. Bubbles are formed during the process of boiling. But when he tested, it was cool enough. But the name fermentation is come from the boiling like effect. Okay, so these are misleading terms. Okay, one must know. So mitochondria के अंदर ही ये काम आएगा, and for mitochondria the Krebs cycle take place. So these two products, what pyruvates and NADH2, has to be transported into mitochondria. For that, energy is required. So let us study Krebs cycle, which is taking place in mitochondria. The pyruvic acids, further process goes in mitochondria, inside the mitochondria, in the matrix of the mitochondria, and pyruvic acids are the starting molecule. They are taking one molecule of coenzyme A, and one NAD will be using. Pyruvate will break into two molecule carbon acetyl coenzyme A, and one carbon dioxide and one pair of hydrogen is given out. The hydrogen will be taken by NADH2. 3 carbon compound change to 2 carbon compound. 1 carbon come out in the form of carbon dioxide, and 2 hydrogen come out, which is taken by the NADH2. Coenzyme A is attached to it. Now it change into citric acid. Okay, citric acid and the coenzyme A will come out. Citric acid will change into isocitric acid. Okay, the isocitric acid will change into ketoglutaric acid, and during this process, one carbon dioxide and two hydrogen are given out. So this is alpha ketoglutaric acid. This is a 5 carbon compound. Now this will change into NADH2. NAD मतलब वापस से एक कार्बन दिया और दो हाइड्रोजन दिए, and it changed into 4 carbon compound succinic acid. Now you may be surprised, ये हो क्या है? Sir, here तो 2 carbon compound था, ये 6 कैसे हो गया? So there is another molecule called oxalic acid, which is a 4 carbon compound. ठीक है? So that 4 carbon compound oxalic acid will be taking part here, and this will be changing it into 4 plus 2, that is 6 carbon compound citric acid, isocitric acid, ketoglutaric acid. तो मैं यहाँ पे लिख देता हूँ इनमें क्या क्या बन रहा है, ठीक है, तो आपको समझ आ जाएगा. So this is a 4 carbon compound. यहाँ था OAA, which is 4 carbon, plus ये 2 carbon, 4 plus 2 6 carbon, 6 carbon change to 5 carbon compound. This is 5 carbon. This is, sorry, this is 6 carbon. ये तो isomer ही है. ये 5 carbon हो गया. So it has given one carbon dioxide and one hydrogen out. Say 5 carbon again gives one carbon dioxide and one pair hydrogen change into 4 carbon compound succinic acid. And the succinic acid will now undergo another change that is called succinyl coenzyme. ठीक है, कोएंजाइम ये बाहर निकल गया इसमें से और ये चेंज हो गया सक्सेनिक एसिड में. एंड ड्यूरिंग दिस प्रोसेस दिस मच ऑफ एनर्जी इज रिलीज दैट चेंज इनटू 1 जीडीपी एंड फॉस्फेट इनटू 1 जीटीपी. अब सक्सेनिक एसिड जो है 4 कार्बन कंपाउंड ये दैट चेंज इनटू fumaric acid again 4 carbon compound and one hydrogen pair is common out that is accepted by FAD. This change into malic acid again 4 carbon compound and malic acid change into oxalic acid again losing one pair of hydrogen. So यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, हमने क्या डाला है यहाँ पे 3 कार्बन कंपाउंड. 3 कार्बन में क्या थे, 3 कार्बन्स वर देयर, 2 हाइड्रोजन, sorry 6 हाइड्रोजन वर देयर एंड ऑक्सीजन वर देयर. So one carbon is given out here, one carbon is given out here and one carbon. So जो पायरुवेट हमने डाला वो खत्म. उसके साथ में 2 हाइड्रोजन, 2 हाइड्रोजन and 2 हाइड्रोजन are given out here and 2 hydrogen and 2 hydrogens are given out here. Okay, so this is how हमने देखा कि कितने हाइड्रोजन एक्सेप्ट बाहर निकले, NADH2 1, NADH2 2 and NADH2 3 and NADH2 4. 4 NADH2 are produced, 2 FADH2 are produced, 2 molecule of GTP will produce if we repeat the entire process with 2 pyruvates. Okay, because one glucose से 2 pyruvate. तो हम यहाँ पे लिख देते हैं, अभी मैं इसको समझा देता हूँ पूरे को. तो हमारे पास क्या थे, 2 पायरुवेट्स. तो 2 पायरुवेट्स से हमारे पास क्या बनेंगे, 2 ऑक्सैलिक एसिड. मतलब दिस एंटायर प्रोसेस यू हैव टू रिपीट मल्टीप्लाई बाय 2. तो हम दोबारा नहीं लिखते. एंड प्रोडक्ट क्या बने अपने पास, 1 पायरुवेट, पायरुवेट से बने 4. Thus in Krebs cycle what we got, 4 NADH2 with 1 pyruvic acid, 1 FADH2 with 1 pyruvic acid, 1 GTP with 1 pyruvic acid. Since 2 pyruvates were there by 1 glucose, so the entire process is multiplied by 2. So हमारे पास 8 NADH2 2 FADH2 और 2 GTP बने. Now the interesting thing, अभी तक हमारे पास ऑक्सीजन ATPs नहीं बने. ATPs we got only 2 in the glycolysis. And अगर हम GTP को ATP के बाद मान लेते तो 2 more ATPs are produced. ठीक है, तो 4 ATPs ही बने हमारे पास. हम बातें कर रहे बड़ी बड़ी एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन में 36 और 38 मॉलिक्यूल्स ऑफ ATP आर प्रोड्यूस. कहाँ बने भाई, कहाँ बने, तो देखते हैं क्या होता है. These molecules have got energy in them because they got hydrogen. We know oxidation कार्बन का भी होता है, ऑक्सीडेशन हाइड्रोजन का भी होता है. Whenever we are burning any fuel, LPG or petrol or kerosene or diesel or anything. So actually what is producing energy? Carbon and hydrogen. Both are oxidizing and they are producing energy. Here also in respiration we are giving glucose and glucose has carbon and hydrogen. So carbon and hydrogen are producing energy. Okay. So आप यहाँ पे देख सकेंगे. अब देखते हैं all these products जो है वो प्रोसेस वो कहाँ हो रहे हैं, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया की मैट्रिक्स के अंदर. ठीक है, if you remember mitochondria and if you remember matrix, ये हमारा माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया. तो यहाँ हो रहा था ये सारा प्रोसेस. Krebs cycle was taking place here. Okay, so Krebs cycle are produced here. So what happened at the end of the Krebs cycle, we will have a large number of NADH2 here, FADH2 here, and we will have some carbon dioxide and all. Carbon dioxide will readily diffuse, no problem. But what will happen to this NADH2 and FADH2 which are collected in the mitochondria's inner membrane, that is in the matrix. So अब इनका क्या होना है? So these all products are now present in the matrix of the mitochondria. Even NADH2 produced in the glycolysis will be brought here. तो अब हो रहा है in inner walls of the mitochondria there are some electron acceptors and these are found on the in this. तो ये inner membrane है. देखिए क्या लिखा है, intermitochondrial membrane. Okay, this is the matrix where the process of aerobic respiration, the Krebs cycle took place. Now what happens, NADH2, large number of NADH2 are there, so the NADH2 will be accepted here FMN के पास and it splits into two molecules. एक one pair of hydrogen, and the hydrogen will split into two molecules, that is the hydrogen ions and electrons. So यहाँ से electron जो है, these electrons have got high energy and this will pass through a stepwise series and इस तरह से ये बढ़ता चल जाएगा, ठीक है। और यहाँ से यहाँ तक आते हुए इसने कितने, one pair of NADH2 if we take, so it transports 6 protons to the intermembrane space. One NADH2 can transport 6 protons outside. और अगर FAD लेंगे तो वो यहाँ से जाएगा, so it can transport only 2 protons outside. And यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा, at the end of this process what will have, ये डायग्राम बना देता हूँ. So what will have, ये हमारा माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया छोटा बना देते हैं जान करके. So what will have, we have a large number of protons here. So there will be a gradient created. खूब सारे protons हो गए यहाँ पे. Proton ही proton. These protons have come from NADH2 and FADH2. So now these proton would like to enter, because we have to maintain ionic concentration cannot be more in one side and less in other side. So अब इनको वापस अंदर आना है to maintain the ionic gradient. तो क्या करेंगे, तो क्या करते हैं देखिए. This will be done only through a special molecule called F0F1 molecule. So ये F0F1 molecule है और यहाँ से हाइड्रोजन आयन जो है, when the two pair, that is one pair hydrogen ion अंदर आएंगे, one pair hydrogen ion, so they convert one ADP and phosphate into one ATP. ठीक है. Inner membrane space, intermitochondrial membrane, F0F1 particles, large number of protons are there. One pair of proton जब वहां से अंदर आ रहे हैं, so they have enough of energy to convert one ADP and phosphate into one ATP. So अगर आपको ये समझ आ गया तो what you can, so let's see the accounting of ATP produced. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. देखिए, in glycolysis 2 NADH2 are produced. Each NADH2 can produce 3 ATPs. तो 2 NADH2 से कितने बनेंगे, 6 ATPs. Out of this 2 ATPs will be spent in order to push the NADH2 which are produced in the cytoplasm into mitochondria. So net कितने हो गए, 4 ATPs बने थे माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल ग्लाइकोलाइसिस में और उसमें से 2 खर्च हो गए. So what we got, 2 ATPs. 4 ATPs were produced, 2 were spent, so net are 2 ATPs. So in mitochondria what we got, net result of 6 ATPs. 8 बनते हैं, that is total would have formed 10. Out of that 4 are spent, so net is only 6. Now in Krebs cycle 4 NADH2 were produced in each Krebs cycle, so twice it is repeated. So 8 NADH2, 8 into 3, that is 24 ATPs were produced with 1 molecule of glucose. 1 FAD is produced in each glycolysis, each Krebs cycle, so it is repeated twice. So 2 ATP FADH2 will produce 2 ATPs each, so total 4 ATPs, and 2 GTP which is equal to ATP, 1 molecule of ATP each, so 2 ATPs. So हमारे पास नेट कितने, पहले टोटल कितने बनना देख रहे हैं, 6 NADH2 से, सॉरी 2 NADH2 से 6 ATPs, 4 ATPs यहाँ पे, 24 यहाँ, 4 and 2, so 6 plus 4 10, 34, 38 and 2 40. 40 ATP would have produced if the entire process goes smoothly in this direction. Out of that 2 ATPs were spent here, 2 ATPs were spent here, so 4 minus कर दीजिए, total net is 36. So which says that with each molecule of glucose, net 36 molecules of ATP is produced in aerobic respiration. This is, I am saying, when we are doing it in the on the board, but the things are not as simple. Things are not as simple. Why? Because in the process of respiration, any of the product which we have studied so far, whether it is pyruvic acid, citric acid, isocitric acid, ketoglutaric acid, succinic acid, fumaric acid, malic acid, oxalic acetic acid, any of the molecules required by the body, it will draw from there. And the process of glycolysis or Krebs cycle will be suspended. So as the process can be suspended anywhere, so it is not necessary that every time you put glucose there and carbon dioxide and water and 36 ATP is coming out. If the process is suspended anywhere, the number of ATP production will be less. Okay. Secondly, this entire process is 36 ATPs are produced by only glucose molecule. So if the respiratory substrate is glucose, if respiratory substrate is something else, the production of ATPs will be different. So how much ATP will produce per molecule of aerobic respiration will depending on that what is the respiratory substrate and whether the process has taken place in the same way which we have studied. And thirdly, NADH2 and pyruvate which are produced in the cytoplasm were moved effectively into the mitochondria. If none of these things, or if any of these things are suspended or failed, then the number of production of ATPs will decrease. So I think it is clear to you. Another important thing which we have to study is that respiration so far, right from our childhood, we have studied that respiration is a catabolic process. Catabolic are those processes in which the larger molecule is broken into the smaller molecule. So we are considering that the glucose is broken into carbon dioxide and water, but it is not always true. Sometimes what happens, the body may break into three carbon compound pyruvate or glyceryl diphosphate or dihydroxyacetone phosphate or anything else, and this can be reused in making some complex molecule. So the process first goes to catabolic and then turn to anabolic, and that is why respiration is also known as amphibolic process. Respiration is also known as amphibolic process. Now, we must remember respiration is different from combustion. In combustion, there is no control. Whatever is produced, continuously goes on. Whereas respiration is well controlled, step by step by step by step. So the energy released in stepwise. Now, why energy is released in stepwise? Stepwise energy release is necessary in order to store the ATPs energy in ATPs. If it is not so, entire energy will come out together and our body may burn together. Every cell, million and trillions of cells are there in our body. Each cell is producing enough of oxygen, enough of energy. Then our body can burn from inside only. बैठे बैठे ही जल जाएंगे हम, खड़े खड़े ही जल जाएंगे हम. And it will be surprising. And it happened. It happened number of times. Number of people sitting only they burn. So sometimes metabolic error take place. Then it happens. Okay, so that is why the process goes stepwise, and when it goes stepwise it can be easily controlled by the enzyme. So entire process of respiration is controlled by enzyme. So right from childhood we were studying the process of respiration. Aerobic respiration, we used to write 1 molecule of glucose plus 6 molecule of oxygen gives 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water, but it is not so simple. It is not simple. In fact, what we are seeing that there are more than 50 steps are there, but the glycolysis, then the decarboxylation, and then Krebs cycle, and then oxidative etc. That is electron transport chain, and then phosphorylation. So many steps are there. Then ultimately we get our energy. So